If you're part of application security team, you know that you have to face a constant flood of vulnerability alerts. And the problem is, most of them are not a threat or danger. You waste so much time chasing noise, and which gives room to real flaws to slip through. What if you could cut straight to the vulnerability that actually matters? This is a promise behind Apptori's new AI Triage feature. And today I'm joined by Sumeet Singh, founder and CEO of Apptori, to explore how their approach could change the day-to-day reality of AppSec teams. Sumit, it's great to have you on the show.
So nice to be here, Swapnil.
Sumit, this is the first time you and I are talking, so I'm kind of curious about the company. Talk a bit about what problem you saw in this space, because it may seem that AppSec is a solved problem where you're like, no, there are still gaps that need to be filled, which led to the creation of the company. And also talk about the name of the company. What is the story behind the name?
We may think that security is a solved problem, but if you really think about it, and if we think about how fast software is being built today, it's absolutely insane. I mean, the rate at which we can now create something new, publish it, and have thousands of users use it is just insane. And that really presents this huge challenge, right? Like, how do you guarantee that all this software that's being produced, how do you guarantee that it's secure? And that's roughly really what the genesis of Apptori is, right? Apptori is a company focused on helping enterprises build secure software for this AI era, where we literally are like dreaming up software and having it published and running, really at the speed of that thought. And the gap that we saw in the in the industry essentially is that if you look at the security tools, firstly, many of these tools are like maybe 2 decades old. Where they have this blind spot is that they're all pattern based. The tools don't understand the logic of the code. They don't understand the context of the application. They use some patterns, and based on those patterns, they identify faults, report them as vulnerabilities, and essentially, then on the other end, the developers, the security engineers, the analysts, they're all just overwhelmed with these alerts to go through to like even kind of try and figure out, hey, what is it that we even need to fix here? So our mission then really was that, hey, how do we, in this world where it's becoming increasingly easier to develop new software, how do we make it so that software is secure? How do we make it so that developers can continue to release really fast, not have roadblocks? And how security engineers can support them in their needs? And, so that's really how we came about, building Apptori. It's new tooling that understands your code, your applications, understands the context. It does new analysis using those context. It automatically triages to identify the few things that are extremely important to you and helps you focus on them and fix them so that you can stay secure, build secure, and release really fast.
Sumit, thank you so much for sharing the story of the company. Now, as you rightly mentioned, application security has been around for years, but enterprises still struggle. You did touch upon some of those traditional players, traditional approaches. But let's just go a bit deeper into what is this traditional approach and why is it proving so ineffective today?
So actually, like if we just rewind and look at the history here, right? Like all software used to be waterfall. And you had tools that were designed for that era, that, hey, software is going to be produced in a waterfall kind of mode. We're going to have these long release cycles. We're going to have all this time to test. So that's roughly what the tools were designed for, right? Like point in time, you run some analysis, you get some hundreds of thousands of issues, you chase them down, you figure out what needs to be fixed, you fix once in a while, you run a pen test. So that's really where the world was and where these tools are designed for. Then from there, we went into this mode of continuous. And, we had like DevSecOps and shift left, like these these things starting to trend. But really what happened was we took all the old tools designed for the old mode. We said, oh, let's put these in our dev pipelines and we'll call them new tools and for this new use case. And that's kind of like been the challenge, right? Like you took something designed for really, really old, went to this mode of continuous, tried to use those same tools in that mode of continuous, still getting those thousands of alerts, but being overwhelmed with it. But now with AI, where you're releasing even faster, those tools are really starting to crack. The processes are really starting to crack, right? People are just buried, right? Like they've become so noisy that yeah, sure, it's running in your pipeline, but it's so noisy that when the report comes to the developer and it's like, what are these 100 things? What are these 1,000 things? They don't even know where to start, and then they start to lose trust in the security program. They start to ignore issues, and we end up in a situation where security gets worse where it was than even before, I would say, if we don't re-engineer and implement better practices and better tools today.
You have just launched AI Triage. How does it actually work? And how does it avoid the false positives that overwhelm heuristic scoring system?
Yeah, actually, so we are actually really excited about AI Triage, and let me tell you why. Right, even though I'm dishing on these old tools are in the pipelines. They're not going away overnight. They're part of our process today. And these old tools are squeaky. They're producing noise. They're producing alerts. They're keeping you busy, like really, really busy. So the thought was, that let's look at this and let's see like what a security analyst or a developer, what is it that they do when they get one of these alerts? How do they go about identifying that this alert actually really is something that they need to fix? It is actually truly a fault in their software that needs to be fixed. So, what would a human do, right? They'd step through the code, they'd follow the data through their software, different functions, look at the control flow, data flow. So what we've done is we've essentially made AI do that. We've built this triage capability that acts like a human, right? You get the alert, and then it goes through the alert, it goes through your code, it understands the context of your code, and it's able to step through and actually tell you, and give its analysis as to why it feels something is truly something that is a fault that needs to be solved versus something that is potentially maybe something you can ignore. So that's really exciting to us. Now, you did ask me about the risk scoring as well. And risk scoring is kind of like the traditional way of bubbling things up, right? When you have thousands of things, how do you apply some filter, right? Hey, I need to fix something, right? So traditionally, we had risk scoring. And risk scoring was based on mathematical formulas that, hey, where is it running? I'll give it this score. What component is it? And I'll give it this score. Did this happen? I'll give it this score. And then you put all these scores on in some mathematical formula, and you came up with a score. But nowhere in that did you know if this thing was truly a fault or not. And so that's why we feel, right, like things like this AI triage, which is giving you that positive scenario that, hey, this is truly a fault and here's why, is potentially superior to, the traditional method of risk score.
Now, every time we introduce a new tool, it may add to more complexity, more work for teams. Let's bring it down to the day to day operations. In a large or a small enterprise, what changes once AI triage is in place, teams feel? How does it affect developers and security teams in practice? How does it affect their day to day lives?
Before I answer that, right, let me just say, right, like, one of the big challenge in, generally doing anything in a security program, right, is that you want determinism, you want consistency, right? You don't want to miss things, right? Now, just, looking at how larger organizations are structured, right? They'll have many different applications, many different development teams, sometimes development teams following slightly different practices as well. And then these security teams are expected to be the gatekeepers. right? Bring in that consistency, bring in that determinism, ensuring that everything is secure. So in that kind of an environment, right, like having something like an AI triage, right, that's acting kind of like with that human like, let's just say that acting like the human like what we call like an AI powered security engineer, bringing in that determinism, right, bringing in that thought process, bringing in that consistency, I feel that is extremely helpful, right? Because it's not just heuristics. I mean, it's actually following the code. But the goal really is to bring that determinism back at scale, right? Now, clearly, if you had enough people, like hundreds of people, to go through these thousands of issues uh, at the speed at which code is being produced, then you could potentially scale. But you don't have hundreds of people. You have a few people, and the code is being produced 10 times faster than what it was produced even a year ago. So how do you keep up? So especially in large enterprises, we like as a company, we're seeing, our customers really excited about these kinds of capabilities that help them scale their security programs, scale their teams, and yet be consistent, yet be deterministic.
A lot of vendors are touting AI powered AppSec these days. Everybody is just putting AI label on their existing products. What's Apptori's differentiation here? Why should an enterprise trust your approach versus traditional vulnerability management platforms?
When we speak about AI, let's just say that we talk about all of AI. We talk about NLP, we talk about machine learning, not just the new LLMs and this new wave of generative AI. So for us, it's really, when we say AI, it's encompassing all of those. Now, the AI washing part, right, like it is real. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there that can maybe just do some fancy prompting, process through LLMs, and attempt to give you something useful. And yes, to some extent, that can be useful. Right? I mean, it's a great first step. But we are actually very different. For us, let's just say the LLM is secondary, right? And the reason that is because, and I mean, we've both, I'm sure you've used ChatGPT. I've definitely used it. I mean, I use it all the time. But every time you ask ChatGPT a question, it may give you a different answer. You ask it to write something, it's not going to give you the exact same thing as the previous time. So it's not deterministic. By design, it's not deterministic. And another thing is, many of these LLMs, they don't know how to say no. They're always going to try and gratify you. They're always going to try and answer you in some way. So to us, that's not deterministic, especially for security applications. It many times I feel, that just won't fly, that just won't work. So what we've done, right, as I'm saying, is we use LLM as essentially secondary. Our primary is this layer of traditional AI, NLP, machine learning that we use to build the semantic models of the code, to build the models of the applications, right? To understand the policies, to understand that, hey, if this is the policy, these are the permutations of things that need to be checked. And by doing that, like we ensure that, hey, like, I mean, for us, we're in the AppSec tooling space. We build tools that can, look for vulnerabilities, that can triage vulnerabilities, help you fix vulnerabilities. For us, being able to identify every single instance of the fault is extremely important. That's why, that layer that we built with the machine intelligence, with the models, helps us in doing that. And then LLMs, we use them as they, as they prove to be useful to us, as in, hey, we need to generate input values. Okay, let's use LLMs to generate input values, but we have all the context as to this is the type of value we need to generate. So we can make it do something specific. We've identified that, okay, here is the exact flow and we need to do some processing on it. We take the assistance of the LLM. So for us, within our product, it's assistive. It's not the primary. And it's the layers and layers of machine learning based models that we've created that truly bring the value to the end user.
You're absolutely right. Everybody is on AI bandwagon, and as enterprises are adopting AI-driven coding at scale, it is creating new challenges. What role do you see Apptori playing in shaping the future of secure software development?
Yeah, so let me actually first start with the vision, right? I mean, really, the vision here is that security, it shouldn't be a bottleneck, right? Security should be a design principle. It should be built into software from day one. Right? That's really what the vision is that we are after. And in an ideal world, everything that's being produced by these with these models, should be secure. But that's ideal. We're not there yet, right? At present, really, what's happening is that these AI technologies are giving us the assistance and really speeding up the rate at which we are producing the code, right? But while that's happening, really, there are no proof points that tell us that the code that is being produced is actually indeed more secure than it was a year ago. To me, really, as what I see happening is that the attack surface is actually growing much faster than it was growing a year before, right? Because you prompted your way to some application, you put the application online. Um, so we feel that for us, really the big opportunity here is that as you're using AI to produce that code, and as that code that is being produced starts to get more and more complex, right? Like different teams producing different components, uh, your code base is getting larger, that we then are able to bring in that layer of trust, right? That layer of determinism, and put confidence back, let's just say, into this work, this software development process. With that goal that eventually, like, we all have that confidence and that guarantee that, yes, the code that's being produced with the AI is secure. So eventually, I feel technologies like us, like what we are doing, we blend in, we become part of the process, and the developer doesn't even know what's happening behind the scenes, but they get to that outcome of secure software with AI.
Of course, I would not ask you to reveal more details, but just tease us what else is Apptori working on in AppSec space?
AppSec is a very very big space. So a lot of challenges to be solved, and I mean, code writing is a code. I mean, code writing is a start, right? Producing the code, but I mean, this is just a tough one. I mean, there's just not enough. There's just not enough. How should I put this? Enough seconds in a day to for us to work on everything that's in our roadmap. But the general thing here, though, is that, look, eventually, where we want to be as a company is that, look, if you are producing software, whether using AI or not, right? If you are producing software, that software you're producing should be secure. And we as a company want to be that AI counterpart that is giving you the tools and the means to achieve that at the speed at which you're producing your software, right? Without slowing you down. So that's really what the goal is, that eventually you prompt your way to an application, and whatever is produced should be secure. So that's one area where, like, we spend a lot of our time, is like, what is the breadth of checks that need to be done to ensure that this software that's being produced is secure, which encompasses everything from looking at things when they're stationary, looking at things when they are dynamic, being able to assess things while they are running, to also looking at, okay, what's the configuration that's consumed to deploy this, all of that, right? We want to be able to use AI to assist you in ensuring everything is secure. Now, beyond that, of course, there's always room to grow in the space of looking at other layers. I mean, currently we are very focused on application security, but there is a lot of pull to, perhaps go look lower, look at the network and things like that. So maybe more interesting things in the future there as well.
Sumit, that was a great discussion. Thank you so much. By now, we do understand the pain points that organizations face, including false positives that have been the hidden tax on AppSec teams. And now, Apptori's new AI Triage is aiming to flip the script by putting the focus back on exploitable flaws and save time for developers and strengthen enterprises' defense. Thank you so much for your insights, and I look forward to chat with you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapnil. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
And to our audience, how do you see AI reshaping AppSec in your organization? Please don't hesitate and reach out to your teams. We would love to feature your story as well. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Thank you.